Somewhere out in the dark, far beyond the last planet, our sun may have a hidden twin. A second star, born alongside it from the same cloud of gas, that has been drifting at the edge of our solar system for billions of years. And for a while, some scientists believed that twin was not just a companion, but a killer, returning again and again to rain death on the Earth. They gave it a name out of Greek myth. Nemesis, the goddess of retribution. The Death Star. This is the strange, true story of the sun's lost twin, how a pattern in the bones of the dead sent astronomers hunting for a hidden star, and what they finally found in the dark. This is Deep Field. To begin, one quiet fact that surprises most people. Our sun is a loner, and in the galaxy, that makes it slightly unusual. The majority of stars are not single. They come in pairs, or in threes, bound together by gravity, circling a common center for the whole of their lives. A sun with a companion would not be strange at all. It would be ordinary. Look at our own doorstep for proof. The closest star system to the Sun, Alpha Centauri, is not one star but three, bound together just over 4 light-years away. Pairs and triples are the galaxy's ordinary family arrangement. A sun quietly traveling with a long-lost partner would simply be keeping company with the majority of stars in the sky. Our own Sun, by contrast, is a fairly ordinary yellow star, middle-aged and steady, roughly halfway through a 10-billion-year life. It has warmed the Earth for 4.5 billion years already. Whatever companion it may once have had, the sun simply kept shining, faithfully, long after any twin had gone. But the search for the sun's twin did not begin with astronomers looking up. It began with paleontologists looking down, into the fossil record, at the great mass extinctions, the moments when huge fractions of life on Earth were suddenly wiped away. In 1984, 2 scientists studying those extinctions noticed something eerie. The great die-offs did not seem to be random. When they plotted them across hundreds of millions of years, the extinctions appeared to come in a rhythm, a rough beat, roughly once every 26 million years. Something, it seemed, was culling life on Earth on a schedule, like the ticking of an enormous, patient clock. Earth has suffered several truly great extinctions, the so-called Big Five, each erasing a vast fraction of all living species. The death of the dinosaurs is only the most famous of them. If catastrophes on that scale really did keep to a 26 million year beat, then something was reaching down with terrible regularity and resetting life on our planet, over and over again. And 26 million years is a span almost impossible to feel. The entire history of our own species fits into the last faint flicker of a single one of those cycles. Whatever might have been keeping that clock was indifferent to us on a scale that dwarfs the whole of human time, a slow, patient rhythm older than the continents. And that was deeply puzzling, because nothing on Earth keeps that kind of time. Volcanoes, ice ages, shifting continents, none of them tick every 26 million years. If some force really was driving these extinctions on a cycle, its clockwork was unlikely to be down here at all. It was more likely to be out there, in space. So a group of physicists proposed a bold and elegant answer. What if the Sun has a companion star, a faint one, on a very long, stretched-out orbit? A star that spends most of its 26 million year circuit far away in the dark, but that once each orbit comes swinging back toward the solar system, and wreaks havoc as it passes. The idea caught the public imagination like almost no other. A hidden Death Star, a cosmic executioner returning on schedule to cull life on Earth, it sounded like science fiction. Except that serious scientists were proposing it in serious journals, with real mathematics behind it. For a decade, Nemesis haunted the dark edge of the solar system in the popular mind. To see how it would kill, you have to picture the true edge of our solar system. Far beyond the planets lies the Oort cloud, a vast spherical shell of perhaps trillions of icy comets, loosely bound to the Sun and stretching as much as a light-year out into space. It is the frozen attic of the solar system, and it is only barely held. We know the Oort cloud is real, or as close to real as an unseen thing can be, because of the comets that visit us. The great long-period comets, the ones that blaze through the inner solar system once in thousands of years, come falling inward from exactly that distant shell. Each one is a messenger sent from the Sun's frozen frontier. Those distant comets are so weakly tied to the Sun that only a gentle gravitational nudge is enough to knock them loose. And a star passing through or near that cloud would be far more than a gentle nudge. Its gravity would stir the Oort cloud like a hand through still water, tearing comets from their orbits by the millions. In truth, the Oort cloud is being stirred all the time, even with no Death Star at all. The slow gravitational tide of the entire Milky Way, and the occasional star drifting past over millions of years, constantly shake comets loose and send a thin trickle of them falling sunward. Nemesis would simply have turned that gentle trickle, now and then, into a devastating flood. Many of those dislodged comets would fall inward, plunging toward the Sun, and toward the planets in their path. For a period after each pass, the inner solar system would be swept by a comet storm, a barrage lasting perhaps 1,000,000 years, in which the Earth would be far more likely than usual to take a catastrophic hit. And some of those comets would find us. A large enough impact throws so much dust and debris into the atmosphere that sunlight is choked off, plants die, food chains collapse, and a mass extinction follows. In this picture, the 26 million year rhythm of death in the fossils was simply the orbit of the Sun's hidden companion, marked in extinctions. It was an irresistible idea, and it got an unforgettable name. Nemesis, after the Greek goddess who delivers retribution nobody escapes. The Death Star. A dim, unseen sibling of our own Sun, returning across the ages to scythe down life on Earth, then retreating again into the dark to wait out the next 26 million years. And it seemed to fit the most famous extinction of all. 66 million years ago, an impact helped end the age of the dinosaurs, carving the enormous Chicxulub crater. If Nemesis was real, catastrophes like that one were not freak accidents. They were appointments, kept by a star on a long and lethal orbit. It is a chilling reframing of our history. In the Nemesis picture, the rise and fall of whole chapters of life, the dinosaurs among them, were not accidents at all. They were the ticking of a cosmic metronome, set by a star we had never seen, reaching into the Oort cloud on a schedule older than the dinosaurs themselves. So what kind of star could hide right next to our own and never be noticed? Almost certainly a very faint one. A small, cool red dwarf, or an even dimmer brown dwarf, a failed star barely glowing at all. Something so faint that, even bound to our Sun, it could sit unremarked among the countless background stars of the night sky. It helps to know what a red dwarf is. It is the most common kind of star in the whole galaxy, small and cool, glowing a dull ember red, and burning its fuel so slowly it can last for trillions of years. Such a star can shine for an eternity and still be so faint that, a light year away, it is little more than a smudge against the black. Such an object could be orbiting as much as a light year or more from the Sun, thousands of times farther than the outermost planet. At that distance a dim dwarf would be almost invisible to ordinary telescopes, a needle of feeble light hidden in a haystack of millions of brighter, more distant stars. To find it, you could not just look. You had to hunt. And this was not the first attempt to find it. Earlier infrared missions in the 1980s, and later a great survey called 2MASS, had already swept the sky and found nothing convincing. But none had the reach to truly close the case. To rule a hidden companion firmly in or out, astronomers needed to map the entire sky in heat, deeper than anyone ever had before. And there was a way to hunt it. A cool, dim star may give off almost no visible light, but it still glows in the infrared, in heat. So astronomers turned to a series of infrared sky surveys, telescopes built to see warmth instead of light, and asked them a simple question. Is there a hidden warm object out there, moving against the fixed stars? The most powerful answer came from a NASA infrared telescope called WISE, which scanned the entire sky in heat. If the sun truly had a dim companion, a red or brown dwarf lurking within a light year or two, WISE was exactly the instrument that should have caught its glow. Astronomers combed its all-sky map for the Death Star. And they did not find it. By around 2014, the WISE survey had effectively ruled out any hidden companion of real size in the Sun's neighborhood. No Saturn-sized world lurked within 10,000 times the Earth-Sun distance. No larger planet or dim star hid within tens of thousands. Wherever Nemesis was supposed to be, the infrared sky was empty. Nemesis also had cousins among the ideas of the time. Some astronomers proposed Tyche, a hypothetical giant planet larger than Jupiter, hidden in the Oort cloud, to explain patterns in where comets seem to come from. WISE ruled that out as well. And there is still Planet 9, a proposed smaller, distant world whose gravity may be hurting far-off icy bodies into strangely aligned orbits. Astronomers are careful about what that does and does not prove. WISE could confidently rule out a star, or any substantial companion, across the vast region it searched. It could not promise that absolutely nothing, no small, cold, planet-sized wanderer, hides in the very farthest reaches. The Death Star is gone. Perfect emptiness is always harder to guarantee. There was no Death Star. If a faint companion of the kind Nemesis was supposed to be existed anywhere in that vast searched region, the most sensitive heat-seeking survey ever made would have seen it. It saw nothing. The Sun, as far as we can now tell, really is alone out there today. And there was a second blow to the idea. As statisticians went back over the fossil record with sharper tools, the neat 26-million-year clock began to look shakier. The apparent rhythm might be partly real, or it might be a trick of how the data were sliced, a pattern the human mind is all too eager to find. The very heartbeat that Nemesis was invented to explain was no longer certain to exist. And it is worth sitting with the disappointment in that. We wanted the elegant answer, the single hidden star that explains the whole rhythm of death. But nature is under no obligation to be tidy. Sometimes a pattern we were certain we saw turns out to be our own reflection, staring back at us out of the data. So the Death Star faded away, and that is science working exactly as it should. A bold, beautiful hypothesis was proposed to explain a mystery. It made a clear prediction. That prediction was tested against the sky, and the sky said no. Nemesis, the returning killer, is almost certainly not real. But the story does not end there. Because it left a deeper question standing. And that question is this. Even if the Sun has no companion now, could it have had one once? To answer that, we have to go back to the very beginning, to the Sun's birth. Because stars are almost never born one at a time. They form in great clouds of gas and dust, in litters, hundreds or thousands of stars igniting together in a single stellar nursery. Our Sun was almost certainly born in exactly such a crowd, one star among a huge family of siblings, all condensing from the same giant molecular cloud around 4.5 billion years ago. Those siblings would have shared the Sun's chemical fingerprint, the same recipe of elements, stamped into them by the cloud that made them all. That birth cluster did not last. Over hundreds of millions of years, the gentle tug of the galaxy pulled the family apart, scattering the Sun's siblings across the Milky Way until they were lost among its hundreds of billions of stars. Astronomers today actually search for them, so-called solar siblings, and have flagged a few likely candidates that seem to share the Sun's exact chemical composition. And then, in recent years, came a genuinely startling idea. In 2020, researchers proposed that the Sun may not have been born single at all, but as one half of a binary, with a companion star of roughly its own mass, the two of them orbiting each other in the crowded nursery of their birth. That proposal came from studying how the young Sun could have gathered its distant swarm of icy bodies in the first place. The math works far better if the infant Sun had a partner. A lone star is a clumsy net for catching faraway objects. A binary, sweeping a much wider circle, is a far better one. In this view, the Oort cloud itself is a kind of fossil, left behind by a twin that is no longer here. That lost twin would help solve real puzzles. A binary Sun would have been far better than a lone star at gravitationally capturing objects into the distant Oort cloud, and even at snaring the hypothetical, still unconfirmed Planet 9, thought to lurk somewhere in the solar system's dark outskirts. A twin, in other words, would tidy up several loose ends at once. If that idea is right, the Sun's companion did not stay. In the chaos of the birth cluster, close encounters with other stars would eventually have pried the two apart, and the Sun's twin would have wandered off into the galaxy, billions of years ago, carrying no memory of where it came from. Long gone, but once real. Finding that specific sibling, if it exists, is fiendishly hard. A star that shared the Sun's cradle 4.5 billion years ago could be almost anywhere in the galaxy now, moving on its own long path, looking much like millions of others. Only its precise chemical fingerprint, traced together with its motion rewound across billions of years, could ever give it away. So here is where we land. Nemesis, the lurking Death Star that returns to kill, is almost certainly a myth, ruled out by the patient sweep of an infrared telescope. But a lost twin of the Sun, a sibling born beside it and long since scattered, may be entirely real, one more anonymous star somewhere in the crowd of the Milky Way. It is a strangely moving thought. That our star may have had a companion at its birth, a near-identical twin, and that the two were separated so long ago that neither carries any trace of the other. That twin, if it exists, is out there right now, shining, perhaps with worlds of its own, utterly unaware that it was ever ours. From a world circling that lost twin, if such a world exists, our own Sun would be nothing special either, just one more anonymous point of light in an alien night sky, giving no hint at all that the two stars had once been bound together at the very dawn of the solar system. And the whole journey is a small monument to how science actually works. A pattern in ancient bones led to a hidden star. The hidden star led to a hunt across the infrared sky. The hunt came up empty, and honest scientists let the Death Star go. And in its place they found a gentler, and perhaps truer, story, of a family of stars, scattered long ago. There is a quiet heroism in how it ended. It would have been easy to keep loving the Death Star, to keep hunting it forever. Instead, when the sky came back empty, the scientists who had dreamed it up accepted the answer. A bold idea, tested honestly and then set aside, is not a failure. It is precisely how we come to know what is really out there. So the next time you feel the warmth of the Sun, consider that it may not have risen alone. That somewhere in the dark between the stars, a sibling of our Sun may still be burning, its light crossing the galaxy, unrecognized, carrying the same ancient fingerprint as the star that gives us life. Look up tonight, and know that one of those points of light could be family. And the galaxy is unimaginably crowded with candidates. The Milky Way holds hundreds of billions of stars, each streaming along its own orbit around the distant center. Somewhere in that vast river of light, a star carrying the Sun's exact birth chemistry may be flowing past even now, having set out long ago from the very same cloud, an unmarked twin lost in the multitude. This is Deep Field, where we take the universe one quiet story at a time, the ideas that were proposed and tested, the mysteries that were solved and the ones still open. If you want more of them, subscribe and stay with us, and keep looking up. There is so much more out there to explain.